What's up, guys? Today we are rolling out the red backdrop for the biggest figure I have yet to do a review for, and this guy is absolutely testing the limits of my review space here. Clearly I need to upgrade, so I guess that's going to happen sooner rather than later. But for now, we are going to take a look in somewhat tightly cramped quarters at the NECA quarter scale RAPHAEL figure. So I'm going to move him out of the way, and we're going to take a look at this box real quick because it's pretty cool on its own. So let's pull him out. All right, so the box here, if you can recall, looks like the artwork, the cover for the movie. We've got the turtles popping up out of the sewer down there with the logo, the New York City skyline in the background. The side has the logo with some shots of the figure, and then the back has, this is the kind of the turtle shot from the movie. We've got the NECA logo down in the corner that looks like the old FHE home video logo, which is really cool. They do that kind of stuff they do like the Aliens figures for the old Kenner line where they have their NECA logo in the Kenner font, so that's cool. And then at the top we've got some more shots of Raph, and then the other side is the same kind of thing as the previous side we looked at. So that's the box. The figure would obviously be in there. Obviously I've already taken him out. I got this guy and I really couldn't wait. There's nothing that was going to stop me from not pulling this guy out right away. So let's take a look at the figure itself now. All right, so here is RAPHAEL, and I waited on these guys. I don't really know why. I think it was price point. I mean, they're $100, but for what you're getting, this is easily one of the best toys I have ever purchased. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. This is one of the best toys I have ever bought, hands down. I really can't argue that point. Donatello came out first. RAPHAEL was second. Like I said, I waited on him. Raph's reissue came out first, so I was able to get him sooner rather than later. I've got Donnie on the way pretty soon, and I'll have Leo and Mikey as they actually come out. I'm not making that mistake again. We're going full team for this. This is not a one-off. I've got to have them all. I don't know. This thing just blows me away. From the promo pictures that I saw to people posting pictures on Instagram and all of that, I mean, these guys look like they absolutely jumped out of the movie. They are exceptional. And, I've had some issues with NECA stuff in the past, some QC issues with alien figures, but this thing is damn near perfect. So we're going to go over articulation and paint and sculpt, and then we'll get into kind of the other stuff relating to this guy. So articulation first. Head is on a ball. It can spin all the way around. Not a ton of up and down, but he does have some. Enough, really. The coolest point of articulation that I believe exists on this figure is that he is articulated at the waist still, or at the torso, I guess. So normally you'd have, on a turtle figure, you would have the shell be attached to the actual chest. That's not the case here, so they can kind of wobble back and forth, so you can get him leaning over, which you wouldn't be able to otherwise if this was all one piece. The arms are on a ball. They can swivel. They do have a hinge. There is no bicep swivel. There are two joints in the elbow. You can see the strap goes across it, so you can get it to move fairly decently. It's not the most dynamic, but it does move. And when we've got a hinge and a swivel at the wrist, and I'll show you when we get to the accessories, because he comes with an ass load of hands, just how they did the articulation for these, because they're different. They're different for each hand, really. We do have, I'm sure you heard that, ratcheted legs. So they help with just the overall sturdiness of the figure. There is a rotational cut there, and I'm always worried I'm going to break it when I do it, just because of that sound. But they're very sturdy, and they do kick forward. They're ratcheted all the way forward. Not a lot of back motion, just because you're going to hit that shell, which is understandable. That's just the sculpt. And then we've got the knee joint, which goes back about yay far. Again, they've got to put the pads on there somehow, so they're on there. And then he does rotate a bit at that knee joint. Not a ton, but there is movement there. And then we have, on the feet, we've got a ball, which can rotate, and it's got a hinge. So while they are enormous figures, they still have a decent amount of articulation, and you can get them into some pretty cool poses. I've seen pictures of these guys standing on one foot. I haven't been able to do it, but it is definitely possible in some regard. I just haven't really put the effort into it because I'm never going to display them that way, because that's just waiting for disaster to strike. So with that, let's take a look at sculpt. And I think that's really where one of the two key points for these figures is that they shine on the sculpt. Pan up there. The big thing is obviously the sculpt of this head. The turtles in general are the same across the board, same overall body, but there are differences. So, you know, like I said, Donnie and Raph are the only two that are currently out. Leo's coming up real soon. And for the most part, the figures are the same, but the head is definitely different. And then the shells are different for sure. Like I said, I don't have Donnie, so I can't do any kind of side-by-side. They wouldn't fit in this space anyway, even if I wanted to. But if you take a look at that shell, the key difference between the two is that Raph has all of his kind of battle scars on his shell where he gets cut up. And, you know, this is just mostly from training with Leo. He has these in the movie before he gets roughed up by the foot. So, you know, that's a cool just thing that they did, just to have that as a difference. They didn't need to do that, but they do it. And then, of course, the overall sculpt of this guy is just 100% on point. You've got the scales all over the figure. We've got the soft goods bandana that rolls into the plastic, and I think it's done really well. It hangs nicely. You can get it to go over his shoulder, just over his back. We've got the leather pads. We've got his holsters for his size, and we'll get to those in a minute, the size themselves. You've got, you know, the fingernails, the toenails, all of it. And then, of course, the shell is just detailed quite a bit. There's all of the various line work in there. But I think it's obvious where these guys really shine, and that is in this face. So if that doesn't look like Raphael, I don't know what does, at least from the movie. I think they're just amazing. This thing blows me away every time I look at it. They've got veins in their arms. They've got veins on the back of their calves. I mean, you know, turtles are ripped, very vascular, so they look the part here. They've got all of that musculature sculpted in, the rivets on the belt. The eyes on the face are just amazing. The teeth, everything, every little thing is here. It's present. It's amazing. As far as the paint goes, that's another one of the two areas where things kind of differ between the turtles. So they've obviously got the spots on them, and they've got shading in the musculature. But that's kind of a difference between them, so that's one thing to look out for. But they've got just all of the different hues of like the darker yellows and the greens and the browns and the blacks for the spots, the weathered look on the pads, the kind of gunk and grit in their nails. Obviously, there's a lot of shading in the shell, the brown, and then to the darker browns and blacks on the shell. The kind of faux leathery look they've done with the belt here, and then the rivets are individually painted. The eyes are, again, just amazing. The teeth are individually painted. Everything that should be painted, touched on, has been touched on. It's just great. I mean, obviously, I'm a humongous fan of these. This is among my favorite movies of all time, so I have a big soft spot for these turtles, but this figure is just the best. Price point notwithstanding, I mean, you're getting more than $100 worth of toy here anyway, because, you know, like I said, this guy doesn't really fit in my review space. We've only got a couple inches from the top of his head to the top of my little space here. So just for comparison's sake, here's a figure arts turtle next to this guy. So, I mean, they're what, 16 and a half, 17 inches tall. They are enormous. You can kind of get a better idea of what that looks like. I mean, just a gigantic Ninja Turtle. Imagine the four of these on your shelf. You'd be the coolest guy in the neighborhood. Hands down. I know I'm going to be, so. Let's move on from this, and we'll take a look at the, I don't know, 15, 20 different hands. Nah, he doesn't have that many, but he comes with a lot of hands. We're going to take a look at those, and we'll take a look at these size as well. So here they are. They're pretty damn big. We'll bring out that figure arts again for comparison. The size are taller than the figure arts. So they're humongous. They're in scale with the figure, so that's really all that counts. They do fit into the holsters on his legs, on his belt. The only thing that I don't really care for, and it's mostly, I'm never going to have them here, really. I might have one and have him doing the thing where he's, you know, pointing down at it, because he does come with a hand for that. They kind of, depending on how you position him, they can be kind of tight against this, against the thigh area. And my concern is that maybe if you're interested in having them holstered, over time they might kind of rub, and paint might kind of rub off, because they're supposed to be going out. They're not supposed to go in, they go outwards. So it's just kind of a thing to keep note of. But as far as the Psy itself, they are, you know, pretty well detailed. They have the leather wraps all over the handles and the two blades on the side. And then the middle is just a silver paint job. So nothing too crazy, but they look really cool in his hands, and he can hold them just fine. So we're going to take a look, speaking of holding things, we're going to take a look at his overall accessories, as well as the, I guess you might say, the coolest accessory he comes with, at least, you know, for a Ninja Turtle. All right, so I mentioned that he comes with a bunch of hands, and we're going to look at those right now, well, in a few seconds. But to do that, they just pop out like any other. They're on a peg, and they've got kind of a little nub. But the one thing that I think maybe is my only real gripe about these figures is that the wrist straps come off when you take the hands off. So it's just something to keep note of. You can pop them on, and then they just go back on. But they add a little extra dab of frustration in when you are changing hands. Okay, so as far as hands go, he has a total of 8 different hands. They're not 4 complete sets, but they are, for the most part, they're pretty close. So you've got the 2 in the upper left that he was shown with previously. We've got 2 below that that are slightly more closed gripping hands. He's got 2 more open, you know, kind of combative style hands in the top right. And then in the bottom right, you've got another kind of open style pose hand, and then you have a open pointing hand, which kind of goes back to the scene where he pulls back his trench coat and he points at his Psy on his belt. So he comes loaded with hands, so you can do a lot with him. And there's one hand in particular that you can do a little more with. So the final accessory that he comes with, and they all kind of come with extra little things, is Raph comes with a piece of pizza. So, you know, it's a Ninja Turtle toy. He needs a piece of pizza. They all need their own pieces of pizza, really. This one is, I think Donatello comes with this. I could be wrong. Like I said, I don't have him yet. But I think he comes with the same piece of pizza. I'm not entirely sure. And I know there are more pieces of pizza coming, at least one that is different. And then Mikey comes with a bag of pork rinds. So, you know, this is just something that the Turtles need. It makes it a kind of complete package for Ninja Turtle fans. You got to have some pieces of pizza when you have a Ninja Turtle toy. And I mean, it looks good. It's a solid accessory. It's really detailed. It's got quite a few paint apps on it. It's obviously got, what, browns and whites and blacks and greens and grays and reds. It's got tons of paint on it. So, you know, they kind of went all out on just this piece of pizza, which I think is really great. All right, so overall, do I really need to say a whole lot more here? I think these figures have been universally regarded as some of the best Ninja Turtle toys, if not of all time, at least in recent years. They are just detailed out the ass. They have tons of paint apps. They have great articulation for humongous toys. The sculpt is out of this world. They look just like they popped right out of the movie screen. So, you know, they're $100, and NECA is selling them as fast as they can make them. So the fact that they're constantly sold out, even after at least one reissue so far for both Turtles, that says a lot. These things are in high demand, and if you are a Turtle fan, especially if you're a movie Turtle fan, you've got to get them. You really have to get these. They will be a great centerpiece to your collection. So that is going to do it for this review, everyone. Thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Are you getting these guys? Do you have them? Do you have Donnie? What do you think of him? Let me know down below. So that is going to do it again, and until next time.